You are listening to Plantastic Events podcast, episode number 009. Hey everyone, welcome to Plantastic Events. I'm your host, Noshin Panjani. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to help you plan your events with ease. Be sure to subscribe at stewjat.com and stay up to date. That's stewjat.com. Plus, you'll receive tons of resources, freebies, guides, and show notes. Thank you for joining, and now let's get into the show. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Noshin Panjani, and today we have a special guest on Skype, James Byndon. He is the president and CEO of JABB Pro Inc., which is a multimedia production company formed in 1996. That's impressive. He has not only done that, he has produced 7 short films and was called an award-winning producer by the Film Festival for his best short film. He is also a famous percussionist with an emphasis on drums and has been playing for over 40 years. I don't know how, but that is very impressive. Overall, James has a unique background as an entrepreneur, a producer, a videographer, an editor, and a musician. James, I don't know how you do it, but that's an impressive background. I am truly floored to see your background.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a wonderful ride. You know, we do a multiple of things as you said in my bio, and I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm very excited and looking forward to this interview.
We're happy to have you on too, and I'm glad the Skype issues worked out too.
Yes.
But he's
Technology.
Oh yes, definitely. And to all you listeners, he also hosts a number of different shows, including comedy shows, and that's one of the things he's here to talk to us about. But I'm going to have him, as well as his wife, perhaps, on this show to talk a little bit more about their background, as well as the film industry too. I hope you're okay with that, James. I've already kind of brought that in there and put a plug.
Yes, it's not a problem. Not a problem.
My first question to you is, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Got up and the day started off with a call, and so about production. So yeah, we're doing great.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And I hope the weather there in California is nice too.
Simply amazing. I don't want to make anybody upset, but it's just
You're making all the folks
it's
in
very,
Atlanta
very
jealous.
warm. It's a beautiful day.
That
About
is-
80 or 90 degrees. So,
Wow.
it's like beach weather. But anyway, like I said, I don't want nobody to get mad because they might be in snow or,
We
so.
have rainy weather here in Atlanta.
Or rainy, yeah.
Can I ask, how'd you start your career in the event industry, and what inspired you to start JABB Pro?
Well, how I got started in the industry, it was I had a friend, and I was always into networking,
Right.
going to different events and things like that. And then I managed some groups, and a friend of mine was talking to me, and he said, "You know what? You're a producer." And I'm like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, you're a producer." And so I was like, "Okay." So he said, "You have a lot of different things. You network. You're a photographer, videographer." So he said, "You just need to bring everything together under one umbrella, and that's a producer." And so I was like, "Okay." So, he basically gave me the steps that I needed to take. I followed those steps, and I got on the road, and I began to put everything under the umbrella.
Wow.
And that's how we got started,
Oh.
pretty much.
That's actually interesting. And then having such a wide variety of background, that by itself is impressive. So you to bring it all together, most people are unable to do that. So to see you having that ability and bringing everything all together in one unit, in one umbrella, as you said, that's actually really cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and it's expanding.
Even
Because
better.
Yeah.
When and how did you develop a passion for music and photography? I know that I brought up the percussionist background with drums. I'm just curious, how did you end up in music, and how did you end up in also photography?
Okay, what happened with that was when I was young, like elementary school,
Wow.
is when it started, and they had a music class within the class, and they just had like tambourines and cowbells and little bongos. And I took a liking to the bongos, and so we were beating on tables and beating
Bongos.
bongos. So that's pretty much how it began. Then when I always had this love for it and beating on everything. And so then when I got into junior high school, that's when it really started. And my dad and mom bought me a drum set, and we started playing and practicing the different songs, and it just became more proficient at it. And then I started playing with bands and things like that. Now, as far as the photography, my dad was a professional photographer and
Nice.
photographer. Anyway, and so what he did, he would go around take weddings and things like that. And I was not interested, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
So when I got out here to California, I mean, my dad had given me a couple of cameras. So I was like, okay. And then they just sat in the closet.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, well, I had a magazine that we also started, and you didn't know about that.
I
It was
didn't
called
know
LA
about
Real.
that.
Right. It's called LA Real Magazine, and we would go around interviewing stars. And so we had a photographer that traveled with us so we could get pictures with all the entertainers and A-list stars and things like that. So things got kind of tight, and then it was like, okay. And I was looking at what the photographers were doing and stuff, and I was like, you know what?
Right.
I can do that. And so I picked up the camera and I began to take photos going around for the magazine. And that's pretty much it. From there, I started doing weddings and,
Wow.
things like that. So
you just went for it.
Yes, just went for it. And then I began to get hired by different people for different events. And I just kept the ball rolling.
I like that mentality. I'm going to use that idea too, where you just said, you know what, I can do that. Doesn't matter what the requirements on. I know I can do it.
Exactly. Picked up the camera and like I said, I think it's really when your dad does it, you're around it. You may not really pay attention to it,
right?
But you kind of have a knack for it because you kind of watch him, and so when you pick it up, it's almost like it's in your DNA.
Yeah. And even better, you got lucky there. And you build up on it. You built that whole skill in addition to everything else, which that's truly very, very impressive. You also host a number of comedy events as well, right? So is there any events or advice you can share with our event planner listeners out there? Because a lot of our event planners are maybe fairly new in the event industry. So they might like your tips, like I guess your top 3 tips that you would give to them if you just happened to run into one of them and they were curious about your industry. What would you share?
Top 3 tips. Okay.
Or top however many. Doesn't have to be a number.
Okay. All right. Not a problem. Now, I've done a lot of concerts over the years, and we did musical concerts and bringing a lot of groups together,
right?
Solo artists and things like that. So we did this particular event and we rented out a hall, and when we went into it, we had a DJ, comedic host, we had reggae, R&B, jazz, and dancers. So it was a variety show, just to put it in a nutshell. So we did it, and so we were really just trying to see what event we could put on that would generate income. And so we began to break it down because we ran into one of the situations was we had the reggae band, and the reggae band is really a defined audience. They really just love reggae. So when we put the comedy and the jazz, they were like,
oh, that's challenging. I can see that now.
Yeah. And so I talked to, because it was a friend of ours, and it was like, hey, you know what? We're not going to, and I'm going to get to the comedy.
No. I like hearing all about it. Trust me, as much as you can share, I love it.
What we did, we pulled the comedic host and we put other comedians around him. And then we ended up coming up with a name called the Cleans of Comedy. And we kind of
Nice.
basically kind of did a spinoff because it was the kings of comedy, the queens of comedy. Then we wanted to have the clean because a lot of people love comedy, but what we were finding is they were like,
Yeah.
every time they have to curse every other word. So we wanted comedians that were just as funny but could deliver their lines and it be totally clean.
Right.
So and then we wanted to make it where it was family friendly.
Right. So you really had to integrate quite a bit, right? Just to get it
Yes,
so that the audience would show up and the audience would be feeling like they're engaged as part of that, right?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
How did you, did you just learn as you go, or did you just like learn from the audience? How did you come up with that where you realized, you know what, I need to figure out and stop for a moment and say, I need to be able to connect the dots and bring it together so people can actually enjoy the moment that they're in?
Okay. Well, again, like I said, my wife and I, we've done many events over the years. And
Right.
again, throwing my plug in for my wife, that hopefully one day you'll do an interview, as you said, with her as well, because she has a wealth of knowledge.
I would love
But
to.
we just collaborate together. And so we are looking for innovative ways to uh, come out with whether it's music because I'm a musician,
Right.
and we just have. Remember, I was telling you I network.
Yeah.
So in my networking, I meet a lot of people. I mean, musicians, actors, singers,
Right.
comedians. So we are all we're really like the go-to when people are putting on an event. They'll come to us, and we'll put all the elements together for them. So that's what we did. And these comedians are right on the cusp
Hmm.
of being household names that we bring in, and so the level that you get is very very high, professional. The comedians are will have you on the floor rolling.
Wow. That's incredible. How do you find these type of like? I know that you network quite a bit, but I guess for a standard event planner that's out there, what kind of advice would you give to them for how to improve their networking in this process? How to find the right type of comedians or performers or musicians or anything else? What advice would you give to them as they're new in the field?
It has a lot to do with relationships. A lot
Right.
of what I'm sharing with you today is built on years and years and years of relationships.
Right.
So what you do, you are out at events and you talk to people, you find out what they do. Once you find out what they do, then you begin to see how you can tie it in. And when you hear of events or have events coming up, then you can bring that particular artist or comedian into that
Ah.
particular event. So then you could talk to the comedians because it's the old adage, birds of a feather flock together. So if you're a comedian, then you're going to pretty much know other comedians because that's the circle you run in.
Right.
So we'll talk to the comedians, and then we'll find out who they know, who they think is funny, like them. And
Hmm.
because they're a comedian, they have a gauge on that. So then we begin to reach out to them and find out what they're about. And then if they, if we've actually gone out to comedy shows, checking out different comedians, and then when we see them, we'll get their information. Then when we have a show coming up, we'll plug them in.
Okay. And is that the same type for film related shows as well? Like if you had to network, you would network for those purposes as well?
It all plays a part. Because you just gather a name and
Right. Yeah.
gather finding out what they do, and then you have that as a base. But in the film industry, it's slightly different because you have a role or a part that you're looking to fulfill.
Hmm.
So then you have different ages, you have different looks you're going for. So then you do what we call a casting call. So you have
Ah.
to you go in and you normally what we do, we set up a camera and we interview or have them read the tagline, the tagline, and
Right.
so and then you see how they deliver it, and how they come across on camera, and then you can go back and look at them. They bring you your headshot. So it's a process that you're going through.
Okay.
In process of elimination. Oh, they were good. Oh, they were great. Oh, they would really fit that role. So it's kind of like that within the film industry.
Okay. So for all you listeners, make sure you take that advice too. Learn how to network. Learn how to find the right group of people that can lead you to a whole new group of people. Learn that it's a trickling factor. It takes time. It takes energy. You have to go out. You have to mingle. Networking is key. And probably one of the biggest keys to being able to improve in this industry, or being able to find the right people for whatever else event that you've got going on, whether it be comedy or music events or film production. It could be anything. So thank you for sharing that. That actually means a lot. What about for venues? I'm sure that, there are certain types of venues that you pick for a comedy event versus a live music event. How would you find the right type of venue?
The way you find the venue, again, is with technology. You can go online, and you pull it up and see what area you have to target. What area are you looking to go into?
Right.
You want to look for convenience of how easy it is to get to that particular event,
Right.
the parking, how many does the facility hold? These are questions that you need to ask. And then, most importantly, you want to make sure of that you keep your costs down.
Right.
Find a
Budgeting.
venue that it can accommodate what you want to do, but keeping your costs down.
That is key, most definitely key. Learning how to budget, and then probably pre-planning all of this stuff in advance, like you mentioned.
Yes.
Going through piece by piece where you're going to budget. Where are the key items that you would look into? Go based on that. The venue, the parking, this, that. How are you planning everything? Plan it in advance, so you're not panicking at the end of the day when you realize that this event is coming up.
There you go. Now, Sheen, let me jump in right there. Now, another key element, and I think this is very important, is you have to have, and you said it earlier, you have to have the right team around you.
Absolutely.
Because it's a lot of work in any one of the genres that we're speaking about: film, television, concerts, comedian, or comedy shows.
Right.
Each one of them, you have to have that team around you. Because you can't do it all by yourself. You might have somebody looking for the venues, or at least having their ear to the ground and say, hey, you know what? There's a venue over here. You might want to check it out. There's a comedian right here that I went to see him, and he was hilarious. This musician is fabulous. So it's all of those things, and having a team is key.
Having like that super team impact,
yes.
that the whole crew working together to essentially make that event happen. That is definitely a good point. And knowing that if you have the right people, they'll help you out in the end.
That's it.
One person does this, you delegate your tasks appropriately.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look, you want to join the team?
I'm ready to join.
I know.
Get to move too to California,
know,
beach-like weather.
I know.
Another question that I had was, what kind of topics do you have to choose for comedians? Does sometimes, are any topics considered off limit, or do you just go with it and work around all of the different types of things that comedians tend to say?
Well, it's funny.
Just curious.
It's funny that you asked that question. Now, remember I told you we have the cleans of comedy.
Yes.
Now, what happens is that's how we formatted our show. So all of our comedians are clean comedians.
Okay.
But they're not all clean comedians. Here's the inside tip. Some of them, they do cursing things, but when they come to our show, it's clean. So they have a how can I say it, like a dirty show, and they have a clean show.
Right.
So, I don't like to use the word dirty, but they just keep it. They're really raw. But a great comedian knows how to work it, and
right.
if you could because all they're really doing, they're doing the same thing, but they throw that cuss word in because they think it'll add more to the punchline.
Right.
But the people that we have had have been, like I said, hilariously funny, and they don't use the curses. They're not cursing.
See, that's actually pretty cool. And you said it was a family-friendly environment, too. You
would like
that.
So you can bring your kids and, your wife, your girlfriend, your grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Exactly. I mean, because it's just because everybody loves to laugh, and laughter it's like a medicine. It just, makes you feel good.
Right. I like that. I like that idea, too, that it's okay. You can be clean. You don't necessarily have to worry about using different types of languages just because you want to hit the punchline, or being able to. Yeah. So that's good to know. Do you deal with a lot of, like, no-shows? What if someone just doesn't appear that's supposed to be a performer or a comedian that was set for that time? You were advertising this individual and this person didn't show up. What do you do? How do you handle that?
Wow, that's good.
It's a rough question.
I was getting ready to tell you that has never happened, but it did happen.
Oh.
We were actually doing a show in Redondo Beach, and the parking, it was on Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I mean, people were it was like crazy. Parking, people were coming to the show, and it took them an hour just trying to park. And so we had all of these comedians, and they were calling me and saying, "Oh, I'm trying to make it." And
right.
And we were like, "Oh my God, get here!"
Yeah.
She said, "Well, I've been driving around. I'm trying to park." So we got majority of the comedians in, and this one didn't. I don't know.
No.
I don't know what she was doing, but anyway, she got there, and I had a decision. We had a decision to make. It was like, do we let her go on, because the show was amazing and everybody was up on a high.
Right.
It was like, oh yes, they loved the show.
Yeah.
It was a sold out crowd. So we said, you know what? You were late. You called us, and we're gonna give you, because each comedian had like 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
But we were like, you know what? Because you were late and we're at the end of the show, because you made it, we're gonna be nice and extend you a bone, so to speak.
Right.
And gave her 5 minutes, and she brought the whole thing from up to down. We were like, oh no, what are you doing?
Oh no.
So the comedic host, I looked at him, I was like giving the sign like, cut her, get her off the set. So, you have to make a decision. You're trying to help people. And then they come late, and then they come and they don't bring it. She kept saying, "Oh, I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring my A game." I said, "You better bring your A." And she came, and I was like, "Oh."
And she only had 5 minutes.
And then we had another when we did the variety show I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
There was I don't want to call no name. There was a artist, and we had a sound check, and she ended up leaving.
Oh my God! She just walked out.
Came back late. She was supposed to open the show, and she ended up leaving and coming back late. I had to switch my order of performers to compensate her, and I'm just like, what? How do you do that? We have a show, and you're gonna leave out, go somewhere, and come back late and throw my whole program out. So you just have to. You have to deal with what you have.
Right.
Okay, wait.
And you have to work around the situations too, I'm sure.
Yes. I just had do you still see me?
I can still see you.
Okay, good. Because I don't know something just happened. But anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So the people you have to just, as a promoter.
Right.
Or event planner, you have to really just move it forward and keep it going and restructure if you have to on the fly.
Yeah, so for all you listeners, again, sometimes you have to work with what you have. You will have, even when you say, oh, I know these folks, they're like very close with me, but they could be stuck somewhere, as he said, like parking issues or something happened. Or let's say they're stuck in Atlanta traffic, which we all know is horrible. But if there's a situation, you have to work with what you have on hand. Try to work around all of that. Like you heard from James as well. He mentions a success story, even without one of his main comedians that didn't show up on time. He still was able to manage an entire process and be able to have it as a successful event without one entire comedian until the very ending. So that's actually impressive to hear that. And for film production, I actually have a quick question for you. What are some of your quick tips that you can share for like a newbie who's struggling to make their first ever film? Let's say that they're just interested in starting something new. They've been in the movie industry, they've done different types of things, but they're starting to create their own film. And for all you listeners, this is just a teaser question because we may ask James to join our next podcast, as well as possibly his wife, too, to talk more about the whole film industry and so much more. So, James, I'll go ahead and let you answer that question, if that's okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. One of the things that I would really quick tip that I would give is if you're in production and once you get your script and get everything in order, ready to go, your shooting schedule, please hear what I'm saying, your shooting schedule, make sure that you stick to it. Right. Don't deviate, because you're getting actors who come in, they may work in different places, they may have different projects going on, and if you set a time, make sure you always give yourself a cushion, because if you don't, and you miss that deadline, then you may lose actors, you may lose cars, you may lose homes, because they're not available after the time that you slated. So make sure you give yourself enough time slated to actually complete on time. It's very, very important. If you have a budget, stay on budget, like right at it. If less, I'm just low budget, like say, and I'm just throwing a number. Right. Let's say a low budget is like $50,000. If it's $50,000, keep it either at the $50,000 or bring it in under the $50,000. These are very, very key points. And people, when they want to think about using you in the future, they're going to look at your track record and see if you stayed under budget, stayed right on budget, if you stayed with the schedule. All of those things are very, very important.
Those are key things, listeners. And again, if you're thinking about that, make sure you stay under or within budget. Just because in the event that James described, what if something happens and you have to cut off the midway? You've just lost so much that you've worked so hard on. You don't want to lose that opportunity. So take advantage of those tips. Make sure that you budget correctly, you schedule things correctly. Make sure you have things in order before you start your first film production process. Anything else you would like to share for that piece?
And the undercurrent of it all is be on time.
Be on time.
Very, very important. Being on time, the actors, the comedians, the filming schedule, be on time. If you say you're going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, make sure you're there at 6:30. Be there, especially if it's your project, be there ahead of time, because it makes the difference. It makes all the difference in the world.
Exactly. And I think just from what I hear from Ali, your sister, the whole process, even because she's volunteered quite a bit in the whole film industry and starting her own process too. But she's told me, at least in the past, that it's difficult when the scheduling happens, when you're working around. Everybody is all around everywhere. The challenge is also you have to work with time. You have to work with 100 other people that are doing a godly amount of things, so it's hard to keep track of everything. So, that's right. Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things happening. There's hustle and bustle that's going on. You have to make sure that you're following that process. It's challenging, but it's doable as long as you're following a set, tips that you can use too.
Yeah. And the last thing I would say is that you really want to make sure that you follow through on everything. It's so important. Don't let the ball drop. In the end, it'll work out.
Right. Absolutely.
Step out there and do it. I mean, because the only failure is the one when you don't try. If you try
Exactly.
to do it, and you get out there, it may not come out perfect, but at least you did it.
And
At
that's
least you stepped out there and tried it, and then keep at it. That's what the more you do it, the more proficient you become at it.
That's what we say in our world too. Failure is bound to happen as long as you're trying, as long as you're moving in a direction. You just continue to move forward. I like that line. That it's okay. You will fail. Sometimes you will fall, but you move from that. You learn from that, and you evolve on that. You make your
That's right.
changes based on that. I mean,
That's right.
yeah, and you've had such a strong background. I'm sure you've had challenges all throughout it, but that's what kind of kept you going. So
Oh yeah. Woo! So, yeah.
it helps, right?
But it makes you stronger. It makes you stronger. It really does.
It really does. Do you have any upcoming events that you'd like to share with our listeners out there, or anything, whether it's in your area, nationwide, or even in Atlanta?
Yeah, actually, I'm putting some things together, and I will keep you posted. But we have an event. We might be coming to Atlanta
Woo! Yay!
in the next month or so. But I'll keep you posted. We're just working out all the details right now. But it's not for the comedy. I'm telling you, we got some other things going. But if we come that way, I definitely want to reach out to you guys and see if we can hook up while we're there. So we
Absolutely.
have that. I have some film projects that I'm coming. Have some meetings coming up this week. Like I told you, I had a call this morning.
Right.
So we have projects coming. The pipeline is filling up. So yeah, we have because I'm trying to. We do catering as well, and so we have a lot. Like I said,
Wow.
we have multiple things coming up, and so it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is.
That is awesome. That is definitely very exciting. Do you have any resources you can share with our members about anything you talked about today? And for all you listeners, if anything you want to reach out to him or see his site, we can post that on our site as well, just so you can have access and be able to reach out to him as well.
What I've shared on today, the resources. I think, like I said, the points that I've hit. If you really just get out there and do it,
Right.
It's one. I hit on the magazine earlier.
Yes.
But what I found out in doing the magazine is when you get out there, you're moving, you're doing something. We had the magazine in movies. We actually got to be in several movies because we were on the set. You can't sit at home and think it's gonna happen.
Right.
You've got to get out there and hit the streets. And as you hit the streets, things will happen. You'll get to meet people. You'll get to know people.
Right.
And you'll get a handle on what's actually going on. And once you get the handle, then you can see, there's a little saying, get in where you fit in. Because when you hear things that are going on, you're like, oh, I can do that. Or, hey, I do this.
Right.
But being out there, so many doors will begin to open. You can't think you're going to sit at home and sit behind a computer and it's going to happen. You've got to get out there and mingle, network, and get before the people. So I would just say, sometimes you don't feel like it, but it's
Right.
not about how you feel. If you really want to make it, you have to get out there and do it.
Exactly. I think I hear a lot from just everyone that I talk to. They have ideas, they have thoughts, they want to do all kinds of things that they've ever imagined. But it doesn't stop at the idea. You have
Right.
to move forward. You
You
have
got
to
to
be
put
able.
that action with it.
Yeah, and then I hear, well, I'm scared. I'm nervous. What if I fall? What if something happens? I don't even know this industry. I don't know what I'm doing. But feel like no one else understands what's going on half the time in this world. You
Right.
you have to move forward. You have to have that you skill build. You learn the
Right.
process and you move forward. You just keep trying. You will fall sometimes, but that's ultimately how everyone else learned.
That's
So,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
you can join
But
the
now-
same process.
Now too, there's YouTube.
Yeah.
That's a resource that is like amazing. If you need an answer to something, Google it. Look it up on YouTube, and you can get a lot of information like that. It's a valuable tool. You got thousands and millions of people out there that will give you free information.
Right.
Just look it up, and that'll help you, and then practice what they're showing you, and then make it your own.
Folks don't even understand how lucky they are now. I think, like, back when I was growing up, this probably kind of gives you a hint of my age, but I used to rely on encyclopedias. I mean, we didn't even have an opportunity. YouTube wasn't there. None of that was there. I had to go to a library, pick up the closest encyclopedia, and then try to do my own research for anything. And that would take hours to figure things out.
Yes.
So, we are very, very lucky to be in this world that we live in, where technology is like right at our hands. We can network.
At your fingertips.
Yeah. Network directly, have no problems with interacting with people across the nation or across the world, for that matter. It's just exciting to see that.
That's right.
Awesome. Anything else you would like to share?
I think
we've
covered it. I mean, there's a whole lot more that I could share. But, giving the parameters and the questions that you asked. And by the way, excellent questions. Thank you so much. Thank you for putting the time in and the research in. Excellent.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. And I just want to let you know that you have such an impressive background. And not only that, I've had the chance to even get to know your personality through this too. I think having that gives us just a whole new perspective. It gives us light as to who you are, what you do, your background, everything that goes on and has happened, and what you're still planning on doing. I mean, it is truly very impressive. I mean, I just cannot say that enough. I was just talking to Ali before this, and I was like, James has a very impressive background. I've never seen someone like this, I'm so excited to work with you and have that opportunity, and then potentially work with your wife as well. I'm super excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I look to do some things with you guys, as we come out there, because we do have some Atlanta ties, so the possibility is very, very real.
Awesome. We are very excited and looking forward to all the things you have going on here as well.
Okay.
Thank you so very much for joining and for being here and taking the time out. I know you're incredibly busy. And I just want to be I truly am very thankful that you took out the time to do this interview. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to our listeners. And I just want to give you a big thank you for that. And just know that that's very helpful for us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you guys. Ali, thank you for calling me and following up with me and actually giving me this opportunity to come on your show. I am so humbled and I am so grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Although the event industry includes a lot of stressful work and late meetings or late events, just remember that every event you help to bring to life creates memories of a lifetime for many people out there. Did you love this episode of Plantastic Events? We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. Each week, we'll give a shout out to the Reviewer of the Week. Also, don't forget, we have resources available at stewjabb.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time. Goodbye. Produced by stewjabb.com. Music by Justin Mahar.